Well, hello there and what's poppin' with all your legends, it's Chief here. So today I'm gonna do a little bit of a different video. It's just gonna be me sitting down here yapping for a little bit and talking about the whole atmosphere and everything around surrounded by the movie Kalki. So before we get into it, these are just straight up facts. So before you go into the comments complaining and anything like that, if you really love the movie or anything like that, that does not have anything to do with how well did the movie perform, how badly did the movie perform, anything. There are just things in life that is straight up facts, and there's just nothing you can do about that. So I posted my full movie reaction a couple of days ago at this point right now. I really like the movie. Does it have issues? Yes. Is it perfect? No. Could it have been better? Yes. Do I still look forward to part 2? Absolutely. Don't even get it twisted for a second. And if you've seen my reaction, you know that I enjoyed the movie overall. I could sit here and nitpick a bunch of things because that is what we all do, right? We all sit there, we watch those movies, we look at those moments of like, that was pretty cool, that was pretty bad. Why did that thing go nowhere? And so many other things. But what I want to talk about today is, did the movie do well? Was it a flop? Was it a massive success? What was it in the grand picture of everything? So let's just quickly get into a couple of numbers right here. What we have right here is that the movie itself had a budget, and I just calculated it around here. Let's just round it up. It had $72 million as a budget for the entire movie, which is obviously a crazy amount of money. That's a crazy amount of money, obviously. Now, how much did the movie itself do at the box office? Well, if I can find the correct one, right here. 130 million, which is also says right here. Exactly $130 million. Now, this is probably not 100% straight up accurate because it would be unrealistic to say the movie made exactly 130 and not one penny less or more. So we're just gonna say that that's around and about what the movie made. So now, what you gotta take into consideration, and there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you have a movie like this right here. Now, I want to stress this out real quick, that what I'm gonna be talking about now is based on US movies and how those things works, because it's very different how the box office works all around the world. So in some countries, theaters take 60%, in others they take 40%, some take 50%. So it's a very mixture thing amount, like how much does the actual theater itself take, because you gotta realize that theaters gotta make money as well, just as the movie itself's gotta make money. So around and about, usually, let's just take an absolute usual middle base, 50% of every single ticket is given to the theater, the rest is given to the movie itself. So if you think about that for a second, you then take $130 million, you divide that by 2, that would then quickly give $65 million. Okay, so the movie has, for the company, made $65 million. But the company spent $72 million making it, which means at this moment right now, they're at a loss of about, let's just go a little bit down, it's 6.5 million basically at this point right here, that they're in a loss. But there is also advertisement. Now, how much money did this movie spend on advertisement? Absolutely no idea. You take a Marvel movie, they spend about 100 to 150 million on advertising. Did this movie do that? No. Obviously not. It would be ridiculous if this movie spent double the amount of what is spent on actually making the movie. So obviously they didn't do that. These guys are smart enough, business-minded enough to know that that would never work. It would be better to spend a bit more on the movie itself. So let's say they spent 10, 20 million. I don't know. I can literally, it's impossible to tell you how much money was spent on advertisement, but they definitely spent some amount of money on it. So let's just say 10 to be really nice about it. That means that at this moment right now, you're 16.5 million under what you're trying to catch in for the box office itself. But one thing, there's a lot of things to go around right here. So it is kind of, like, for the most part, it's kind of very much so a guessing game because you don't exactly know how things work, right? But Netflix bought the rights, Prime has bought some rights, like they have different streaming platforms have paid for the movie to be streamed on their platform. That means they made more money. So I think personally, and this is just my opinion, and this is a full-on guessing game, I think this movie made money. I absolutely think this movie made money. Do I think this movie was as big of a success as they hoped it was going to be? No. I think they hoped for more, but I don't think they're completely disappointed. So it is really tough, right? Because in terms of like how theaters work in India, and this is where the big changes come. I don't know how much money theaters in India takes in terms of a ticket being sold compared to what they take, for example, in Denmark, where I live, in the US, in the UK, in China, wherever it might be, because this movie was released basically all around the world, at least in a lot of places around the world, right? So I think overall, this movie came to a spot where I think it made profit. I hope it made profit. I really want this movie to have made profit because that guarantees you a part two. From everything I've seen, I've been trying to Google a little bit around. It's really hard to get all details, but as far as I can tell, they already started recording stuff for part two and stuff like that. So I do think that part two is coming. I don't think that any of us have to worry about part two not happening, because I definitely think that we are getting a part two. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because I want to see this story expand. We cannot just leave off where like movie number one left off. We gotta have more. Like, there is so much more to explore, so many questions in this first movie that was left on the table, and you are like, if we ain't getting a part two, there's no reason for me to ever rewatch this movie again, because there's so many things that goes unanswered, bro, and you want the answers to them, obviously. So I do think, and from everything I've seen, we are getting a part two. I don't personally think this movie was received as well as they hoped it was going to get received. I think they were expecting some better reviews on the movie. I do think that the script could have been much tighter. I do think there were some writing issues with this movie right here, but that doesn't change the fact that I personally really enjoyed the movie. I just think that even though it was a good movie, it could have been much better in my opinion. So hopefully they can tighten up the script and really condense it down. I think if you were to ask me, had this movie been 30 minutes shorter, I think the movie have been much better. I think it was half an hour too long. I think they should have just cut a few things out and or instead have added some more interesting moments into the movie. But really what this video was all about is I think this movie just about made profit. Estimations, guessing games, you can say, Tifu, you're talking out of your ass, you don't know what you're talking about, this movie was a massive success. If that's what you think, alright. But there are still reality of how numbers work. But the thing is, I don't know how Indian cinemas work in terms of profit, because most of everything that was like collected by this movie in terms of box office was in India. So let's say that they, for fun, only took 20%. The movie made big money then. Then the movie made big money. But I don't know exactly how that works. So any of you guys that know how that works, leave it in the comments below so that in future videos I can have a more accurate statement. But overall, if you take box office and streaming services, this movie should have made profit. So anyways, have a great day. If you want me to do more videos like this in the future, just talking about stuff like this, I would love to do so. I think it's actually really interesting and fun going into movies and see, did they do well? Did they do bad? And did they deserve to do better? That's the real question, bro. I think if this movie was just a bit tighter on the script, they should have done a lot better, man. But, you know, still a good movie. I still thoroughly enjoyed it either way. That's for absolute sure.